Happy Monday, family. It is a beautiful day to be able to come outside and be with you. And we are already in Ruth chapter 4. We'll be finishing up Ruth this week. And the good news is Ruth gets married, right? She will get married to Boaz. And there's a lot of kind of details in that to unpack. But today I really just want us to focus on a devotional thought, a meditative thought for the day. And here's the thought. The thought is this. When you and I are living in real time, like you and I are doing right now, we can't see into the future. And we don't know what our future looks like. So when we're reading Ruth in Ruth chapter 1, when they were living in real time there was a famine in the land. And Naomi and her husband and her sons, they had to get up and leave their home. And they were in a situation that was difficult, right? So they get out of their comfort, they get out of what they know, they get out of family and friends and their hometown to go find a way to live during this time of this famine. And when they get there, their sons, they're going to marry Moabite women. But when they move to their new destination, Naomi's husband dies. And 10 years later, her sons would die. So all of a sudden, in real time, they're in a situation where it's tough because there's a famine in the land. And then Naomi loses her husband, and 10 years later, she loses her two sons. And now they're in a place where now you're left with three women who are now widows and living in the times that they lived in. It was really hard for women to survive without having a husband or without having a son. And so here we are, like I said, in real time. We cannot look into the future. We don't see our life. We don't see the future. And what I want you to think about right now is, where are you at in your life? Currently, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What's going on in your relationships? What's going on in your internal world? What's going on with your finances? Maybe you feel like, I've been going through a famine lately. Like, there are just areas of my life that feel famished, and you don't know, right? You can't see into the future. But all of a sudden in chapter 4, we get to read it as the readers, but we can't read our own lives because we're living it in the moment. But I want you to know today that God sees the end from the beginning. He sees your end. He sees your beginning, and He knows that He's called you, that He's planted a seed of purpose in your life and in my life. And so here, Ruth is going to get married. She finds love. She gets married to Boaz, and Naomi's going to be able to be a grandmother. And so if we're comparing and contrasting, in chapter 1, it was a bad situation for Naomi and for her daughter-in-law. But in chapter 4, we don't know who we're going to meet one day. We don't know the conversation that we're going to have. We don't know how God is going to impact this moment. And I know sometimes we're going through kind of this, like going through the motions, it feels like. But I want you to know, keep hope alive in you, because your chapter 4 is coming. And the beautiful thing is this, is that when Boaz and Ruth have their child, their son's name is Obed. And Obed would grow up and have his own family, and he would have a son, and his son's name would be Jesse. And Jesse would grow up and have his family, and Jesse's son would be named David, the King David that you and I know. And so all of a sudden, Ruth and Boaz get to be a part of the Jesus story, because Jesus would come through their lineage. And you and I get to be a part of the Jesus story forever, for all time, because Jesus came, was born, and He lived for you and for me. He showed us how to live. He showed us what living life could be like in the kingdom of God. And then he died. He died the death of the cross, but He died for you and for me and for the sins of the world. And then He rose again, and He's coming back. So you and I will forever be a part of the Jesus story. I want you to stay focused on the promise that no matter what chapter you are in currently in your life, just meditate and know that God isn't finished with us, that God's still writing that story for us, that while we live in the present moment, And we can't read our lives like a book, so we know what the end looks like. We don't know what it looks like. I want you to know that God is the author and the finisher of not only our faith, but our life as well. And we can rest in peace and trust and confidence that God only does things well. And the best is yet to come. God bless you, family. Have a beautiful day.